What's going on, Not Move Nation? Welcome to the Not Move Podcast. Today is February 25th at 8:43 a.m. Eastern Time. Thank you to the supporters, subscribers, and followers. We do appreciate you guys. Also, thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Gold, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right. I usually get my injury information from rotowire.com, ROTO wire.com, but they don't really have a whole lot out today this early. Um, I'm seeing that Scotty Barnes looks like he's going to be questionable today to play for the Toronto Raptors, is what they're saying on here. He bruised his right quad in his game yesterday, from my understanding, is what they're saying on here. So he'll probably be questionable to play in this one. Al Horford, he didn't play. He didn't play yesterday. They have him listed as probable today, but I would check on that closer to game time. Really, a lot of these injuries I would check later on throughout the day, either through your favorite source or through this one. I've been using this one for a while now. I really like RotoWire. Porzingis is going to be out today for Golden State due to an illness. Kyle Anderson's questionable for the Memphis Grizzlies with a knee issue. Coward for Memphis is going to be out again today with a knee issue. Amin Thompson is out today for the Houston Rockets with a quadriceps issue. They do have Giannis in the projected starting lineup today for Milwaukee, but they have him listed as questionable. They don't have any. They don't have a write up on him quite yet, though. So this is the first time in a while that I've seen Giannis in that projected starting lineup for Milwaukee. So we'll see if he plays today. Jaylen Brown, he did not play yesterday. Here on RotoWire, they have him listed as questionable in the projected starting lineup, but we'll just have to see a little bit closer to game time. All right. And then just something else I wanted to mention before I get started on the usual stuff that I talk about. I just wanted to mention that I've noticed that a lot of these games are being decided by 10 plus points. In case you guys like doing, like alternate spreads or anything like that, seems like it might be a good time to do that. I mean, 6 out of the 11 games that were played yesterday were decided by 10 plus points. 2 out of 3 games on Monday were decided by 10 plus points. 7 out of 11 games on Sunday were decided by 10 plus points. 4 out of 6 games on Saturday were decided by 10 plus points. 6 out of 9 games on Friday were decided by 10 plus points. 6 out of 10 games on Thursday were decided by 10 plus points. And then we had that All-Star break right before they left and went into that All-Star break on Thursday, February 12th. All 3 games that were played on that day were decided by 10 plus points. And then the day before that, 9 out of 14 games on February 11th were decided by 10 plus points. So the last, 8 days of the NBA, more of the games, more than 50% of the games have been decided by 10 plus points. Excuse me. All right. First game today, we got Oklahoma City at Detroit. Oklahoma City is on a 3-game winning streak. Detroit is on a 1-game losing streak. Oklahoma City did play yesterday, so they're on a back-to-back, but Detroit did not. Oklahoma City has won 2 regular season games in a row against Detroit. These teams have not played against each other this season. Oklahoma City has an 8-2 money line record on Wednesdays this season. Detroit is 6-3 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Oklahoma City has also won 3 consecutive games that they've played against any team on February 25th. And then I noticed that Hartenstein for Oklahoma City does have a 6-0 career record against Cade Cunningham for Detroit. And Hartenstein also has a 4-0 career record against Asar Thompson. I didn't check any of these lines last night like I normally do. I got a little busy. But this morning, when I checked at around 5 a.m. Eastern time, I checked all of the lines for today at about 5 a.m. Eastern time. At that time, Detroit was favored by 7.5, over under 220.5. I looked at 4 different against the spread trends in this matchup, and Detroit wins all 4 of these trends. Now, that doesn't mean just, go ahead and take Detroit. Maybe it does. But, I mean, I know yesterday, anybody that had an against the spread trend advantage seemed like more teams than not ended up losing when they did have that against the spread trend advantage, or at least not covering. I'll definitely be keeping track of that stuff. Okay, so yeah, Detroit wins all of these advantage or all of the against the spread trends that I usually look at. I look at, against the spread just in general. In this case, I looked against the spread record for Oklahoma City as a road underdog, Detroit as a home favorite, against the spread trends after a win or a loss with rest advantage or rest disadvantage. So, yeah, Detroit wins all of those trends. Detroit's got the 10th best against the spread record in the NBA. They're 30-26. Oklahoma City's 30-29 against the spread. Oklahoma City's only been a road underdog one time this season. They're 0-1 against the spread as a road underdog. Detroit's 11-13 against the spread as a home favorite. Oklahoma City is 22-22 against the spread after a win. Detroit's 9-4 against the spread after a loss. So I'll give Detroit the advantage there. And then Detroit 6-5 against the spread with rest advantage. I mentioned that they didn't play yesterday. Oklahoma City did. Therefore, Detroit has rest advantage. They're 6-5 against the spread with rest advantage. Oklahoma City's 4-10 against the spread with rest disadvantage. Now, these are 2 very talented defensive teams. Both of them rank in the top 2 of the NBA in team defensive efficiency. Oklahoma City ranks first in that category. I talked about Oklahoma City's defense on yesterday's show. They do a good job at limiting those points in the paint per game. They rank second best in that category. They rank first in fast break points allowed per game. But Oklahoma City, where they are vulnerable, is defending against that 3-point shot. They allowed the 3rd most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. Duncan Robinson is the leader for Detroit in 3-point field goals made per game, and he ranks 15th best in the NBA, followed by Cade Cunningham, who ranks 64th. Oklahoma City, they're above average at limiting those assists to opposing teams per game. They rank 7th best in that category, but they are near the bottom of the league in regards to rebounds allowed to opposing teams. They allow the 7th most rebounds per game to opposing teams. Jalen Doran is going to be that rebounds per game leader for Detroit and ranks 8th best in the NBA. And Oklahoma City is above average in limiting opponent free throw attempts per game. They rank 10th best in that category, which is actually Detroit's biggest flaw. Let's talk about Detroit. They do rank 2nd in team defensive efficiency. So they are a very talented defense as well. But their biggest flaw is sending their opponents to the free throw line. They rank last in opponent free throw attempts per game. So with SGA more than likely being out this game, from my understanding, SGA will be out. The next free throw attempts per game leader for Oklahoma City is going to be Chet Holmgren, who ranks 39th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game. Um, Other than that, though, Detroit's really solid. I mean, third best in points in the paint allowed per game, fifth best in fast break points allowed per game. They rank first in assists allowed per game, sixth in rebounds allowed per game. Um, so I guess where they are most vulnerable is going to be 3-point field goals allowed per game, uh, according to where they rank compared to other teams. Other than that free throw attempts per game allowed, I mean, 3-point field goals allowed per game, they rank ninth best. So, I think this is a tall task today for a depleted Oklahoma City team. But, Oklahoma City, they were depleted. Who did they play on Sunday? Cleveland, right? And I believe they still ended up winning that game. So just because they're a depleted team right now doesn't mean that other guys can't step up and show up and show out. Okay, so Cade Cunningham has not had a triple double in 5 career games that he's played against Oklahoma City, but he has had a double double in 2 out of 5 career games that he's played against them. But in one of the games that he didn't get a double double, he only played 8 minutes in that game. So it's more like he's had a double double in 2 out of 4 career games against Oklahoma City. And then the most points he's ever had against Oklahoma City is 28, and the most assists that he's ever had against them is 9. And I think that history, and I mentioned it yesterday, means less whenever you're averaging your points per 40 minutes, rebounds per 40 minutes, or assists per 40 minutes are at all-time highs. I don't know if they are at the career high for Cade Cunningham or not, but, if I were interested in his points or assists today, I'd go to ESPN.com to look at that. You could look up Cade Cunningham stats, takes you to ESPN, go to the advanced stats section under his name, and then you'll get to see it'll say P/40, A/40, R/40, and you'll get to compare that number, the current year, to the previous seasons that he's been in. All right. Next game that we have is San Antonio Spurs at Toronto Raptors. The Spurs are on a 9-game winning streak. Toronto, 1-game losing streak. San Antonio did not play yesterday, but Toronto did. And the Spurs have won 4 regular season games in a row against Toronto. These teams played against each other one time earlier this season, and the Spurs won that game in San Antonio. This one today is in Toronto, but San Antonio ended up winning that game by 18 points, 121-103, and that was on October 27th, in case you wanted to go look at that box score. The Spurs, they are 9-2 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Toronto 6-5 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. The Spurs have lost 3 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date, February 25th. And I did notice today is Fred VanVleet's birthday, but he's injured. So, and is he with Houston now, right? I don't even know who he's. Yeah, he's with Houston anyway. So, okay. Houston does play today, so that's kind of why I wrote that down. I just wrote it in the wrong spot. Okay. Scotty Barnes, I mentioned that, he might be questionable to play tonight. If he does end up playing, and if you like him to go over his point total for some reason, I think you have an added benefit that he did get his career high in points against San Antonio on April 13th, 2025. He scored 35 total points in that game. That game was in San Antonio, though. Once again, this one's in Toronto. When I checked this line at about 5 a.m. Eastern time this morning, the Spurs were favored by 7.5 points with the over-under at 229.5. I looked at those 4 different against the spread trends. I'm not going to break them down like I normally do. But San Antonio does win those spread advantages 3-1. All right. The Spurs do have the 5th best record against the spread in the NBA. They have the 7th best record against the spread after a win. Toronto has the fifth worst against the spread record after a loss. The only advantage I see with Toronto and all of the trends is that they're 4-5 against the spread with a rest disadvantage, and the Spurs are 7-12 against the spread with rest advantage. But the Spurs do have a better winning percentage against the spread as a road favorite than the Raptors do as a home underdog. So I really don't have any names wrote down on this sheet here for this game either, because these are two talented defensive teams as well. I mean, let's start off with Toronto. They rank seventh best in team defensive efficiency. So they're up there. They're a good defensive team, and Toronto, their biggest vulnerability compared to where they rank to all the other teams in the league in the major categories that I normally talk about is going to be the free throw attempts allowed per game. They rank 20th, so they're below average at limiting those free throw attempts to opposing teams. So if you do like Wimbenyama, Castle, and or Fox to go over their point total today for the Spurs for some reason, I do give you a little bit of a additional opportunity to shoot some free throws today. Toronto's not extremely vulnerable at allowing teams to put up those free throw attempts, but they are below average. But yeah, Wembanyama ranks first on the team, 10th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game, followed by Castle, who ranks 25th, and then Fox, who ranks 51st in free throw attempts per game. Their next biggest vulnerability, where they rank compared to other teams, is going to be rebounds allowed per game. Toronto. They rank 12th best in that category. So they're still above average at preventing those rebounds per game, but they're much better at these other positions at defending against them. They rank 10th and best in three-point field goals allowed per game, 8th best in points in the paint allowed per game, 3rd best in fast break points and assists allowed per game. So, yeah, really good defense here. But, any given night, players, NBA players can go up against the best defense and do good, So, but just to give you, a foundation to start your day with here, these are two good defensive teams here with the Spurs and Toronto, and same with that Oklahoma City and Detroit game. Let's talk about the Spurs defense a little bit. They do rank 3rd best in team defensive efficiency. Which basically just takes the pace of play out of the equation, right? So I've mentioned that on previous other shows, what the team defensive efficiency looks at. The Spurs, their biggest vulnerabilities are going to be the assists and three-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 12th best in both of those categories. So they're still above average in both of those categories. But, if I were looking for Toronto player props, that would probably be the first place that I would look for. Or if you're watching other live streams today, I would keep my ears open to see if you hear anybody that you trust that likes, any three-point field goals for Toronto, or if they like a player going over their point total, are they decent at shooting threes, or the assists, the Toronto assist props. The Spurs, they rank 9th best in rebounds allowed per game, and then 7th best in points in the paint allowed per game, 2nd best in fast break points allowed per game. So I don't have a whole lot to say about this game, except, I just wanted to give you guys those defensive flaws for both teams. Scotty Barnes has not had a triple-double in 9 career games against the Spurs. He has had a double-double in 2 out of 9 career games against them, though. All right, and then we got Golden State at Memphis. Golden State, 1-game losing streak. Memphis, 2-game losing streak. The Warriors did play yesterday, but the Grizzlies did not. The Warriors have won 4 regular season games in a row against Memphis. These teams played against each other twice already this season, and Golden State won both of those meetings. The first meeting was on October 27th at Golden State. This one's in Memphis today, but Golden State won that game by 13 points, 131 to 118. The most recent meeting was on February 9th at Golden State again, and Golden State won by 1 point, 114 to 113. Golden State is 4-4 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Memphis is 5-6 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Memphis has won 4 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date, February 25th. And I did want to mention that today is Pajimski's birthday for Golden State Warriors. And when I checked this line at about 5 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Golden State was favored by 3.5 with the over-under at 228.5. Look at those 4 different against the spread trends that I normally look at, and Golden State wins 3 out of 4 of those trends. I'm getting those against the spread trends from teamrankings.com. So, you could look there if you wanted to. You may have a different source that has a slightly different information. But that's just, I wanted to let you guys know where I got that from. Yeah, 3 out of 4 trends Golden State has advantages in. So let's talk about Memphis defense real quick. They rank 18th in team defensive efficiency, so they're slightly below average in that regard. They rank 17th in points in the paint allowed per game, so they're slightly below average at defending against that. Before I continue with that, why don't we start where Memphis is most vulnerable and where they rank 3-point field goals allowed per game. They allow the 5th most 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams. So Moody is the leader for Golden State Warriors in 3-point field goals made per game. He ranks 34th best in the NBA, followed by Pajimski, who ranks 92nd. I usually only look at the top 50, but wanted to get you guys a little bit more info today. So yeah, for the birthday boy there, Pajimski, he's the 2nd best in 3-point field goals made per game for Golden State, with Steph Curry being out and ranks 92nd best in the NBA in that category. Memphis's second biggest vulnerability is going to be the rebounds and assists allowed per game. They rank 21st in both of those categories, so slightly below average. Draymond Green is the leader in both of those categories for Golden State as well. He ranks 34th best in the NBA in assists per game, 67th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. Third biggest vulnerability for Memphis here is going to be the points in the paint allowed per game. DeAnthony Melton, out of available Golden State Warriors tonight, is the leader in points in the paint per game for Golden State. He ranks 145th in that category, and that's about it out of available players. I mean, obviously, some other players are going to be somewhere in the rankings, but I looked pretty, down the list on that one, 145th. And then Memphis ranks, 11th best in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. So they're doing decent at limiting those free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. And they got a solid fast break defense. They rank 9th best in fast break points allowed per game. And so let's talk about Golden State. They rank 10th in team defensive efficiency. So they are above average in team defensive efficiency. Their biggest flaw is going to be fast break points allowed per game. But as I've mentioned on previous shows, I think points in the paint advantages are typically a little bit bigger than fast break advantages, because you're typically going to get more points in the paint per game than fast break points per game. But anyway, I still like talking about fast break points per game because if we can get a small advantage with the fast break points and a small advantage here and there, those small advantages can really add up to hitting a player prop. But Golden State, so fast break points allowed per game is their biggest weakness. They ranked 24th in that category, so they are below average getting close to the bottom of the league. Ty Jerome is the leader for Memphis and ranks 42nd best in the NBA in fast break points per game, followed by Morant, who, from my understanding, is unavailable tonight, and then Coward, who ranks 75th in fast break points per game, and then Pippen, who ranks 78th in fast break points per game. Golden State's next biggest vulnerability is going to be the points in the paint allowed per game. Is Alama back yet? Or what are they saying here on RotoWire? I'm seeing that Alama is going to be out again for Memphis. So with him being out and with the assumption that Edie's going to be out and John Morant's going to be out, the next leader in points in the paint per game is going to be Ty Jerome from Memphis, who ranks 108th best in the NBA in points in the paint per game. And then Coward, who ranks 112th in that category. Golden State, they rank 15th in assists allowed per game and rebounds allowed per game. So they're right at the average mark at limiting those categories. Cam Spencer is the leader for Memphis in assists per game, and he ranks 26th best in the NBA. And then for rebounds, Alama is the leader for Memphis in rebounds per game. He ranks 43rd best in the NBA, followed by Coward, who ranks 54th. And then I just want to mention that Golden State limits their opponent free throw attempts per game pretty well. They rank 7th best in that category. And then we have the Sacramento Kings at Houston Rockets. Both of these games are on one-game win streaks. Neither of these teams played yesterday. The Kings have won 2 regular season games in a row against Houston. These teams have played against each other 3 times this season, and Sacramento leads that season series 2-1 over Houston. I'm not going to get into each of these games that they've played against each other, but what I will say is that Sacramento does have a 2-9 money line record on Wednesdays this season. Houston, they're 6-4 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. DeMar DeRozan, the projected starting shooting guard for the Sacramento Kings tonight, needs 5 points to move into 21st place on the all-time careers leaders list for points. When I checked this line at about 5 a.m. Eastern time this morning, Houston was favored by 14.5, over under 222.5. I looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this one since both of them didn't play yesterday. I didn't look at the rest advantage versus rest disadvantage. So I looked at the normal 3, and I'll give Sacramento advantages in 2 out of 3 of those trends. Let's talk about Sacramento's defense. They rank 3rd worst in team defensive efficiency. They rank 28th in that category. Their biggest flaw, according to where they rank compared to other teams, out of those major categories I normally talk about, is going to be the points in the paint allowed per game. They rank 3rd worst, so they allow the 3rd most points in the paint per game to opposing teams. So Şengün is the leader for Houston in points in the paint per game. He ranks 5th best in the NBA, followed by Amen Thompson, who I believe I said was out today, but he does rank 12th in that category. And then KD, Kevin Durant, ranks 68th in that category. And then we have assists allowed per game is going to be the Kings' next biggest vulnerability. They rank 5th worst in that category. They allow the 5th most assists per game to opposing teams. Şengün ranks 1st on Houston, 17th best in the NBA in assists per game, followed by Amen Thompson, who ranks 31st, Kevin Durant, who ranks 44th. The next big flaw is going to be the free throw attempts allowed per game. Sacramento allows the 7th most free throw attempts per game to opposing teams. So Kevin Durant is that leader for Houston and ranks 19th best in the NBA in free throw attempts per game, followed by Şengün, who ranks 27th, and then Amen Thompson, who ranks 33rd. Next biggest flaw for Sacramento is going to be the 3-point field goals allowed per game. Not 3-point field goals, 3-point field goals made per game to opposing teams, and they're still a little bit above average in that category. They rank 14th, so not terrible there for Sacramento. But, if you were thinking about some of these guys going over their point total tonight. Reed Shepard, Kevin Durant, Jabari Smith. They don't have, just generally speaking, they don't have a huge disadvantage when it comes to the Sacramento 3-point defense, but I'm not looking at how Sacramento defends against their specific positions. I'll leave that up to you guys or some other host and some other live streams. But yeah, Reed Shepard is the leader for Houston. He ranks first on Houston, 38th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals made per game, followed by Kevin Durant, who ranks 41st, Jabari Smith Jr., who ranks 43rd, and then Sacramento is above average at limiting those fast break points per game. They rank 11th best in that category. Okay. And then Houston, I don't really see a huge flaw with Houston. They do rank fourth in team defensive efficiency. I mean, I would say fast break points allowed per game is the only category that they're below average at, and they're just a little below average. They rank 16th in fast break points allowed per game. So with Levine being out for the season, right? The next leader for Sacramento is going to be Keegan Murray in fast break points per game. He ranks 57th best in the NBA. And then Malik Monk, who ranks 80th in that category. But other than that, I mean, points in the paint allowed per game by Houston, they rank 11th best in that category. Third best in 3-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. Second best in assists allowed per game to opposing teams. Third best in rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. So I think, Sacramento's got their hands full tonight, but anything could happen, right? Anyway, Chingun does have a triple-double in 15 career games that he's played against Sacramento. He's had a double-double in 6 out of 15 career games that he's played against Sacramento, which does include that game where he had a triple-double. And then Westbrook has had a triple-double in 7 of his last 25 games against Houston. So we got these other 2 games here. I'm going to try to get through this as quickly as possible, get you guys information I think is valuable. I can only be on here for about 5 more minutes, okay? Cleveland at Milwaukee. Both of these teams are on 1-game win streaks. Both of them played yesterday. Cleveland has won 5 regular season games in a row that they have played against Milwaukee. Did I say 5? Cleveland has won 7 regular season games in a row that they've played against Milwaukee. Cleveland's 8-5 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Milwaukee's 4-5 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Also, James Harden needs to make 5 more free throws to move into third place on the all-time free throws leaders list. He would pass Moses Malone. When I checked this line early this morning, Cleveland was favored by 9.5, over under 228.5. Looked at 3 different against the spread trends in this one. Milwaukee has the advantage 2-1 in those against the spread searches. Cleveland, Cleveland ranks 12th in team defensive efficiency, so they're pretty good. They're good at limiting those points in the paint. They're vulnerable to fast break points allowed per game. They rank 22nd in that category. Giannis ranks 3rd on Milwaukee, third in the NBA, first on Milwaukee in fast break points per game. Then it's Kuzma, who ranks 93rd. AJ Green, Cleveland is also a little bit below average at limiting those 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 23rd in that category. AJ Green ranks 16th best in the NBA in 3-point field goals allowed per game or made per game, followed by Ryan Rollins, who ranks 33rd. Miles Turner, who ranks 47th. Cleveland ranks 20th in rebounds allowed per game. So Bobby Portis is the leader for Milwaukee, ranks 47th best in the NBA in rebounds per game. But if Giannis plays, we know Giannis can get those boards, right? Cleveland does rank 13th in assists allowed per game, 6th best in points in the paint allowed per game, 16th in free throws allowed per game. Kuzma is the free throw attempts leader per game for Milwaukee. He ranks 74th best in the NBA. But if Giannis does end up playing, we know Giannis can get to the free throw line. And then, Milwaukee, they rank 22nd in team defensive efficiency. Both of these teams are actually really good at defending against those points in the paint per game. Milwaukee ranks 5th best in that category, by the way. They rank 12th in fast break points allowed per game, but where they lack is the 3-point field goals allowed per game. They rank 4th worst in that category. So, I leave it to guys like Harden, and Mitchell to capitalize on that, considering that Mitchell ranks first on the team, third best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game, followed by Harden, who ranks 12th. Milwaukee just slightly below average in the assists and rebounds allowed per game to opposing teams. Leaders for Houston for assists, Harden, Mitchell, and Schroeder. And then for the rebounds, Mobley and Allen. Also, Milwaukee ranks 23rd in opponent free throw attempts allowed per game. So Harden, Mitchell, Mobley, and Allen are the leaders there. Harden ranks 5th, Mitchell 18th, Mobley 35th, Allen 37th in free throw attempts per game. Harden hasn't had a triple-double in his last 25 games against Milwaukee, but he's had a double-double in 7 of his last 25 games against them. And then Giannis has had a triple-double in 2 out of 24 career games against Houston. Boston's on a 4-game win streak at Denver today. Denver's on a 1-game losing streak. Boston did play yesterday, but the Denver Nuggets did not. Denver has won 1 regular season game in a row against Boston. Denver, they played each other 1 time this season, and Denver won that game by 4 points at Boston. This game's in Denver today. That game was also on a Wednesday. Boston is 7-3 on the money line on Wednesdays this season. Denver's 9-1 on the money line on Wednesdays this season, although Boston has won 6 consecutive games that they've played against any team on this exact date. Denver is favored by 3.5, over under 229.5 when I checked at 5 a.m. Eastern time this morning. I looked at 4 different against the spread trends in this one. It's even. It's split right down the middle, 2-2. Both of these teams, I would say their biggest flaws are going to be the three-point defense, which I think I don't know. But Denver ranks 18th in three-point field goals allowed per game to opposing teams. So Derek White is the leader for Boston, ranks 20th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. And then it's Pritchard, Hauser, Brown. All right. And then Boston, they rank 22nd in three-point field goals allowed per game. So they're slightly below average and a little bit more vulnerable to that than Denver is. Jamal Murray is the leader for Denver, ranks 9th best in the NBA in three-point field goals made per game. And then it's Tim Hardaway Jr., who ranks 21st. Denver does rank 15th in fast break points allowed per game. So I could see Jaylen Brown possibly taking advantage of that if he plays today, considering he's the leader for Boston and ranks 19th best in the NBA in fast break points per game. Denver ranks 16th in assists allowed per game, so just a little below average. Derek White, Pritchard, Jaylen Brown, those are the leaders in that order for assists per game for Boston. Both of these teams are great at defending against points in the paint per game. Boston ranks 1st, Denver ranks 3rd. Rebounds, they're both in the top 10 at limiting that. Denver ranks 5th, Boston ranks 8th. And both of them are above average at limiting those opponent free throw attempts per game. But Denver is a little bit more vulnerable to that. They rank 14th in that category. So Jaylen Brown is the leader for free throw attempts per game for Boston. Derek White is the second man up. Jaylen Brown ranks 12th best in the league in free throw attempts per game. And then Derek White ranks 87th. Then I did notice that Jokic has had a triple-double in 5 out of 18 career games against Boston. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. Hope you guys had a good day yesterday. I hope you have a good day today. And I hope you have a great day tomorrow. I'll see you guys soon. And thank you to our sponsors, BetUS, MyBookie.ag, Walmart.com, Open Goal, the MLB and NFL Pro Shops, and W Energy Drinks. All right, take care, guys. Good luck.
This non-casual podcast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or reused without the authorized written consent of the Not Move Podcast Network. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.